Wow, my goodness. Does Michigan State have a Jeremy Fears problem? I mean, wow. So here we are on a night that should have felt routine for Michigan State, top 10 team in the Big Ten, a team that still believes it's one of the elite programs in the country. At least that's how Michigan State fans feel. And instead, what we got tonight in Minneapolis was a total collapse. The smell of bigger problems than a few missed shots or a bad quarter. At least that's what it looked like to me. I watched the game. And so tonight, the Minnesota Golden Gophers, a sub 500 team in the Big Ten, by the way, upset Michigan State 76-73 in a game that will raise more than a few eyebrows about just how good the Spartan team really is. And I got to tell you, I'm a little bit taken aback by this. Because about a week ago, I put out a segment about the Michigan versus Michigan State game, and I picked Michigan to win for good reason. And we had a lot of negative commentary. We've had commentary on social media. We've had it in the comment section from Michigan State fans complaining, criticizing, no, they're the best team in the Big Ten, whoop-de-woo. And here we are again with another loss. And this time it was kind of a nasty one. And I'm going to get into that. But this Gophers team tonight, they snapped a long losing streak. They hit a ton of threes. I mean, their big guns stepped up when it mattered. And the Spartans, I mean, they were looking flat early and too little too late. And I mean, the behavior here of Jeremy Fears and co. What are you doing with some of this stuff? I mean, ridiculous. And so right off the bat, what stood out to me about this one is how uncharacteristically sluggish Michigan State was. They fell behind early. I don't know if they thought they were going to just walk into Minnesota and knock this down, take it. But Minnesota jumped out to a 15-5 lead off top. And from there, the Spartans couldn't shake the funk. I mean, they scored better after halftime. I think we saw that and cut into it late. But even that surge wasn't enough. And while fans might look at a late comeback and say, well, at least they fought. No. We're past that. Especially with all the Michigan trash talking a week ago. Because the reality is, this isn't a top 10 team. Time to accept it. Tom Izzo's squad has been inconsistent on both ends of the court, and when Minnesota started hitting shots, State didn't have an answer until too late. Not the first time we've seen this season, by the way. Rutgers game could have went the other way. But the highlight, and by highlight, I mean the ugliest moment of the game, was the incident involving Jeremy Fears. Now, we all know Fears is one of the Spartans' go-to guys. I mean, he leads the team in assists. He can score when he's in a rhythm. But tonight, he was off. And being, let's be clear, being off is fine. There's nothing wrong with anybody being off. Nobody's expecting every player to have a good game when they step on the court. I get that. Everybody gets that. But this kid compounded everything, not just by missing shots, but by getting into a moment of unnecessary and reckless behavior. I mean, with the game hanging in the balance, Fears is over here kicking a Gophers player, you know where, in the midsection, resulting in a dead ball technical foul. And he was lucky it didn't escalate further. Lucky it remained just a tech. But make no mistake, that moment stopped MSU's momentum for sure. And it's a play that has players and fans, people like myself, people on the radio going, what's he thinking? What was that? Keep your feet on the floor. I mean, if you watch the replay and get on social platforms, I mean, that's exactly how this play is landing. People aren't calling it a foul so much as they're calling it a symptom of a team that can't contain its composure. Now, there is some Spartans fans that have said, you know, they look flat. What's he doing? Izzo needs to tell him to knock it off. Some are even flat out calling the performance pathetic. Unacceptable for a team with tournament aspirations. And I'm being straight up with you. None of this is hyperbole. You can go look for yourself. That's the tone in some fan threads right now. We can also point to how the narrative around fears isn't exactly new. Just earlier this week, Michigan head coach Dusty May publicly called out what he termed very dangerous plays by fears in their rivalry matchup, which included tripping and shoving and suggesting that it wasn't isolated. Well, here we are again. And that was after Tom Izzo tried to shrug it off as a part of rivalry intensity. Okay. Rivalry intensity. I got it. Make a note. Because there's still questions tonight about discipline and control. And tonight, that issue didn't disappear. It blew up at the worst possible time. And I'm going to tell you something else. Let's be clear what tonight ultimately tells us about Michigan State basketball as a whole. This is a team that struggled to defend, struggled to start games, and struggled to show any consistency. They shot okay later, but they gave up far too many open looks. They couldn't contain Minnesota from the three. And most critically, they failed to show the killer instinct we associate with championship teams. Teams that are built for March. Teams that you trust with your Final Four bracket. Those teams don't play like that. They don't have nights like this. They're not kicking opposing teams in the midsection. Not when it matters, and not ever. And this isn't a one-off hot take. If you look at their recent performances, they had a few close brushes that didn't go their way. They had a tough road loss to Michigan. They had another shaky performance against Rutgers that needed overtime. And now this. Wasn't no overtime here. This was straight up loss. They look like a team that can compete well when things are going well. But when adversity hits, when scores get tight, when the crowd is rocking, when a big moment comes, they don't have the poise of a blue blood contender. Full stop. And that's what championship pedigree is all about. And I'll tell you right now, tonight was a reminder that Michigan State is not there. Make a note in your notes because they are not there. And let's talk about mentality for a minute. Because I think Spartan fans need to chill out. Michigan State fans have been spoiled by basketball for quite some time. Deep tournament runs and identity rooted in defense. But this season, it's shown some cracks. Tom Izzo, I don't know, man. I mean, the impatience on offense, the lapses on defense, emotional volatility, all of it came out tonight. And you can't ignore the optics of a supposedly top Big Ten team losing to a sub-500 Minnesota squad. I mean, you just can't. There's no excuse. That's the kind of loss that makes people question seeding. People question hearts. People question whether this team can make a serious March run, and I don't think they can. I said at the beginning of the season that Michigan is obviously the best team in the Big Ten. Clearly. I don't even care if they're not ranked number one yet. They're the best team. Now, to the folks out there that are saying, well, they'll bounce back, Tom Izzo will get them right, blah, 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 this is just one game. Maybe they will. Maybe they'll win the next one. Maybe Izzo will torque them back into form and they'll go on a tear. But based on what we saw tonight, based on how they struggled with discipline and how they failed to show identity in crunch time, I'm not sure you can just slap championship contender on this squad. I think it's time to start accepting some reality here. Now, that's not disrespect. That's just what it is. I think that State fans need to start accepting the reality and start taking the temperature down. Championship teams have control. They have discipline. They have composure. They don't let a single immature play derail their entire second half. They don't go cold for entire stretches of the game. They don't consistently find themselves playing from behind against teams they should beat. Tonight, Michigan State displayed none of those traits. And that's the bigger headline than the final score. So when you talk about this loss to Minnesota, don't just talk about the scoreboard. Talk about the trend lines, talk about the momentum swings, and talk about how this team folded up under pressure. Because right now, if you're a Spartan fan and you're looking at the bigger picture, this night should have you asking serious questions, and not just about one player, one technical foul, but about whose team it really is and whether they're built for a championship run or not. Keep it locked. You're listening to Midnight Sports Detroit.